Alright, so for this lab, for the constant velocity cart lab, we want to make a graph of position on the y-axis versus time on the x-axis for each of our two carts that are in motion. We could do this using a graph paper, pen, or pencil, but it's the year 2014, so let's use a computer program, because when you get to college, you're going to have to. So we're going to open Microsoft Excel, which is this guy right here. So double click on that. Wait 12 years for it to open. Then it'll say blank workbook. Double click that. I'm going to make the screen big. And what you see on Excel is basically a giant data table. Each of these little things are called cells, and they let you enter data. Like, for example, what we want to do is we want to enter the data, the averages from our data table. We want to enter it right into Excel. So I have position, which is measured in meters. And you see how it's kind of overlapping the cell? If you go up here between the A and the B, you can drag and resize how big that column is. So I'm going to enter in my position data. I collected data at 0, 0.5, 1, 1.5, and 2 meters. Then I'm just going to keep typing in our data. I have time for cart 1, measured in seconds. And I also have time for the second cart, measured in seconds. So those are my average values for position and time for each of the two carts. Now what I want to do now is I want to create a graph, just like the one I drew on the board, a position on the y-axis versus time on the x-axis graph. So in order to do that, if I click on the Insert tab, there's a whole bunch of different chart types. The one that we want is a scatter plot. That's like plotting points on a piece of graph paper. So we click on scatter plot, go down to where it says scatter, click it, and you'll see that Excel tries as hard as it can to be helpful, but it is not very good at being helpful. It plotted, I think looks like it has position on the x-axis and time on the y-axis, which is not what we wanted. So we want to right click, go to select data, and just remove Excel's horrible attempt at being helpful. Now we need to tell Excel what data we want to plot from our data table onto our what looks like a blank sheet of paper at this point. So we want to add sets of data. So the first series name, let's call that cart 1. We want to add x values, and the x values that we want are the times for the first cart. So I just drag each of those times, hit that little button. We also want to do on the y-axis, we want all of the positions. So I drag all of the positions for the y-axis. It says give it a series name. We called that cart 1. Then I'm going to click OK. And if I move this out of the way for a second so you can see, boom. What it has for us is it has positions plotted along the y-axis, times plotted along the x-axis. So let's go ahead and add yet another set of data. Let's call this one cart 2, not cart 12, cart 2. On the x-axis, we want all of the times for cart 2. Highlight those values, click that little button. On the y-axis, we want all of the positions for cart 2. Highlight those, click that little button. We gave it a name, cart 2. Click OK. That's all the data we need to add for this lab. Click OK, and there we go. What we have is we have a legend at the bottom showing us that cart 1 is represented by blue dots, cart 2 represented by red dots. We want to now add chart titles and axis titles. We can do that by clicking the little plus button. So click that, axis titles and chart titles. The axis titles, you can double click on that, maybe triple click. We want the y-axis to be position, measured in meters. And we want the x-axis to be time, measured in seconds. As a general rule, we call charts thing on y-axis versus thing on x-axis. That's pretty snazzy. So we're going to say position versus time for two carts. I'm a very creative person. And there we go. Excel has made a graph for us. Now, if we click on the graph, if we just want to print the graph, click on just the graph so it's highlighted, go up to File, Print, and it will just print the graph that we made. If you want to print all of this stuff, don't have that highlighted and click File Print, and then it'll print some blob of what you want. So make sure if you just want to print the graph, have the graph actually highlighted.